Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We've just went out and beat Livingston by 3 goals to 0 using the second string in a game that we were uncharacteristically nervous about coming into. Livingston at home is normally a game that we absolutely cruise through and pick up the 3 points in no short order. But coming into this game, we were worried about who was going to play up front, where were the goals going to come from, and with Brendan obviously needing to shuffle the pack to rotate the squad to keep everyone fresh and available for what is essentially a cup final next Tuesday away in Kazakhstan. Confidence was certainly low from the Celtic support coming into this, and the amount of bedwetting that we got when the team sheet was announced was unparalleled. In this game we had Captain Liam Scales, we had Inamura making his professional debut, competitive debut, whatever. We had Shin Yamada making his first start, and eventually we get Johnny Quinny to get his first goal of the campaign as well. Kobe Donovan made his competitive debut, and Dane Murray came out of this one absolute trumps as well. We managed to leave Kieran Tierney on the bench, we managed to leave Carter Vickers on the bench, and you know, if the last couple of weeks hadn't went the way they had, this result would definitely be classified, and it probably will do in about a month's time from now, as a proper hallmark of champions performance. Despite all the bumps in the road, all the twists and turns we've been going through in this transfer window, Celtic are still, domestically, just getting the job done. In the video today we'll break down where it was won and lost for the Hoops, the standout players, what made the difference, and really what we're now thinking coming into that Kairat game, as well as, you know, some of the transfers that we're seeing now being tied up as we get closer and closer to the deadline. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We put a few little, I don't know if I want to say competitions or whatever, but we set some targets on some videos recently. I said to you guys on the Kairat breakdown, if we got over 250 likes, we would come back next week and we would do a live watch along for it. We have hit 600 likes on that video, guys. Absolute. Honestly, the support from the community here, from the Celtic fans around the world, is incredible. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. Smash the like button if you do, of course. We did do a watch along for the Livingston game yesterday on the channel, so if you want to reference anything we're talking about in the breakdown today, you'll be able to see my live thoughts and kind of, you know, developments in the match as it unfolded. And that was off the back of hitting 250 likes on the Friday stream that we did. So like I said, the channel is absolutely popping off, all because of you guys. So sincerely, thanks very much. Jump into the comment section, let me know your thoughts, feelings, takeaways from the game as well, winners and losers, all that kind of thing as well. And if you haven't done so already, of course, yeah, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because there's a lot to discuss in this video. I really enjoy doing the breakdowns on the channel when we do have so much change in the team. We have new faces coming through, we maybe have new routes to goal developing, we maybe have some new stars emerging. In this game, you know, when I seen the team sheet, I got excited because I'm like, brilliant, we're going to see so many new things happen potentially. Should give us a lot of food for thought for where the manager sees some players, as well as us as fans, just to get a better kind of semblance on where everyone is, because, you know, a lot of these guys, there's been juries out, there's been question marks around early doors in the season. I think for me the biggest surprise in the team sheet was Paulo Bernardo. I didn't expect him to start this game. I thought Callum McGregor would have just captained us, and maybe Bernardo could have came on later in the match, but Brendan decided to go the other way around. Coming into the game, we did get the news that Trusty was out injured, and I did believe coming into the match, Brendan's words of the Falkirk game was going to set us up for the Livy game was going to come true, and I expected that to mean Murray and Trusty. Now, when we lost Trusty, I thought that probably meant we're just going to go with Scales and Vickers and just keep it safe. We're not going to mess around too much. And I expected Engels and McCowan to come in for Hatate and Nygren in the centre midfield spots based on the Falkirk game as well. But I don't think anyone would have forecasted Hayatoro and Inamura coming in to make his competitive debut for the Hoops after you know, the injury to Trusty. I believe the plan was Scales at left back in this game, and with no Trusty, you know, Scales has obviously ended up playing centre back. And with the comments the manager made earlier in the week that he wouldn't be confident playing Ina and Inamura against Lamine Yamal, it surprised a lot of Celtic fans. But again, that just kind of pointed to me the difference between reading headlines and actually listening to what the manager says, because he was quite complimentary on, you know, he's a prospect, he's come in, he's did okay, but, you know, we're not at the stage where we could nail him in as being a squad member, where no matter the fixture, we can put him in. Brendan's not quite there yet. And at home to Livingston, a game that we got 80% possession in, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, and he was certainly one of the standouts. Add in Anthony Ralston to that, and this is a back four that we have never seen before. Inamura aside, you know, Scales and Murray have never played together from the start, never mind with Ralston. So a much changed back four, firmly in a lot of Celtic fans' opinions, would be a full second string back four. Normally this would be AJ, Carter Vickers, Trusty for some people out there, and Kieran Tierney, of course. So a full change at the back, and with Bernardo being the deep line midfielder here. It's a totally different defensive structure to what we've had this season, or even since Brendan Rodgers has been back. But when it came to the attack, there was a lot of eyes on Shin Yamada, because we have really been struggling to break through, get one-on-ones with goalkeepers, to actually hit the back of the net with our strikers. And we've seen the ability of McKeown and Engels to be a very effective midfield duo, so I felt that was a good platform to give someone like Shin a bit of a start here. But with Yang on the wing, still with a ever-present point to prove, really, it feels like, the wee man here. And Nygren, reluctantly, Brendan is putting Nygren on the wing here. It felt like we should have enough, vigour, determination, motivation without these. None of the players on screen here, maybe Engels does, but Nygren, Yang, McKeown, Shin, none of these guys have got any baggage. They've not got all that expectation on, you cost this amount of money and you've not scored any goals and you can only score penalties and blah, 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 all that kind of thing. And when you do mix the team up a little bit, that is one of the things you hope to gain, is that you get rid of that mental baggage that maybe some of the underperforming players are carrying onto the pitch with them. And I certainly felt from the opening minutes in this game, from everyone in green and white, there was no mental baggage. There was a good vigour in the team, a good energy. And Brendan has been really highlighting it this week coming into the game, that his change has been, we don't want to be high intensity in the first 10 minutes, but we want to increase that and ram it all into the first 5 minutes, be really high tempo, try and get control of the game quickly and stop any of these teams like killing the game and keeping it tight longer, and then we get, the jeopardy on a random counter-attack, a bad refereeing decision maybe undermining the fixture or whatever. So I thought there was a good kind of zest, a nice little kind of tempo, it's probably a nice way of putting it, into the entire team here, despite the bedwetting that we got from the team sheet. Now I'll talk on Livingston for a second, just so I can lay the context out, and then we'll get into the main runners and riders for the hoops here. But Livingston, I expected them to be much more of a defensive unit, quite simply just parking the bus and just getting on the edge of the box, leave their one striker out here to do the suicide runs all day, every day. But in fairness to Livingston, they did keep their shape really compact, like you can see here, but they actually made their line quite high. They actually got their defence like a good bit up the pitch in periods, and it meant the likes of Winter, Pittman, Finlayson, Tate, even Silla, by the way. There was times in this game where Silla looked like he was a second man up front with the pressing he was doing. And, fair play to Martindale, fair play to Livingston, that they had their own take on how to be defensively astute and still give yourself a chance of getting into the game somehow. Livingston didn't really amount to much in this match. The guy Bokila certainly was on the suicide runs all day, barely got a sniff at goal. I think Schmeichel touched the ball with his gloves like twice, not from picking it up to take a goal kick or anything, but actually having to catch it out of the air, make a save or anything like that. So fair play to Livy on that part, but that actually gave us a new route to goal that we don't normally get in these types of games against these types of opponents, and that was in and behind. Now we've seen a really nice chance early on, which came from Dane Murray, by the way, and I think that's probably where I'll start the breakdown for, because Dane Murray is a player that the manager has been very complimentary of. He's been very quick to give praise to and highlight. He sees this guy having a very high ceiling. Now when he played against Falkirk, I was really impressed with a lot of the, he'll get the ball in from Scales and he could take 3 touches, 2 touches really quickly, set your feet, take the first touch, control the ball and fizz it into McGregor. And you could tell McGregor in the Falkirk game was really happy with the distribution we were getting out of Murray. But one thing I really noticed in this game, and if you go back and check out the highlights, you'll see it for the Shin one, but Murray is just a bit more keen, a bit more alert to forward passes. Normally when we've got Carter Vickers in this position here, Carter Vickers, because he's the fridge, because he's the defensive man mountain, he's always got his slippers on. It doesn't really feel that on the ball he ever gets out of first gear, never mind second gear or whatever. So sometimes when the ball gets to Vickers, it can just be a wee bit ponderous, it could be a wee bit one-dimensional, it could be a wee bit slower. And yes, sometimes Vickers will try and play into midfield. Very rarely will he try and play the striker. But in this game, Murray really did show, and it is Livingston, right? So there's some context that goes into that. But Murray is way more a modern centre-back than Carter Vickers when it comes to being on the ball. Not saying that Murray's got this wide range of passing and he's so slick on the ball or anything, but you can tell from the way he's been trained, he's just bringing that into the match. If he can see that ball through the lines, he's going to try and play it. And the good thing about playing those balls through the lines from the centre-backs, even when they don't come off, Scales is quite guilty or whatever of doing this as well. If you're aiming for the striker, as long as it doesn't go out for a goal kick, you're advancing yourself up the pitch. So even if you're to fire it into Shin and then maybe he gets stuck into a duel with one of the defenders, maybe loses out on it, there should be enough other players around the ball where we're actually pushing them back and we're actually moving ourselves up the pitch a good bit as well. So defensive kind of distribution or whatever doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to have intent, it needs to have purpose, it needs to move the opposition to try and cover those balls, to chase the runner back, and then just give the rest of the team a bit more space. So I thought Murray was, I don't know if I'd quite go as far as to say a standout. I think he was quietly brilliant. Like, he just didn't do anything wrong, and there is a caveat to that, which we'll come to in a moment, of course. And on the ball, he just moves it that little bit quicker than Carter Vickers. And in terms of a succession plan for one of the key players in the squad, I think Dane Murray has really shown himself to be someone that we can look at with a lot of optimism now. Now, I did say he was pretty impeccable in this match. As the game wore on, Brendan mentioned this in his post-match breakdown, that the last 15 minutes he got a bit tired, he was running on empty, and that kind of happened. He was playing the ball out from the back. I'm not even exactly sure as I'm talking to you now who he was trying to play it to, but he loses out on it, and then Livingston start themselves a counter-attack. But big Dane Murray gets right back in there and challenges the striker out on the penalty spot, by the way. So a real high intense defensive situation where you cannot blink, you cannot make an error, you have to get your lines right, you have to time your tackle perfectly, and he comes all the way back to recover his own mistake with a last man tackle, which was hugely significant to keeping the clean sheet intact and really limiting Livingston to having like 0 shots on target or whatever. So I thought he was really impressive. Ralston was his usual self, which was great. And I thought Captain Scales really wore the armband well. Like, big Scales, I said it when the team sheet came out, Murray and Scales was just going to be a wall. Like, wow, what a pair of centre-backs domestically. I don't think that is a centre-back pairing I would ever be worried about against any domestic opponent. Decent amount of pace without being lightning, and both of them 1v1. Like, when this big Silla was pushing forward, even this Bokila, and then some of the other guys, like Pittman's quite a nippy player, the boy Tate gets himself about, but Murray was physically very up to the task, and along with Scales was a very kind of symmetrical, harmonised kind of partnership, which I thought was lovely to see despite how little they've actually played together. Now, when Livingston were, maybe getting himself a little bit deeper down the pitch, when we would be, maybe attacking a little bit more, we then start to see a little bit more of Inamura. Now, Inamura, for the most part, lived in this inverted fullback position here, and I cannot remember who it was for the life of me. I'd love to give them credit, but I remember when we were on the verge of signing Inamura, someone profiled him just on stats and all that kind of thing, and they said this guy could be an amazing defensive midfielder for Celtic. And in this inverted left-back position, I can see where they were coming from. There's maybe, and again, if you know who it is in the comment section, give them their dues, give them their credit, shout them out. But defensively, like I say, he gave himself, he went after some balls to try and like show the manager, to show us, no, I can defend, I can get stuck into it. And maybe he bit off more than he could chew once or twice, but was very happy to get, to put his leg in where it hurts, to put, to go shoulder to shoulder. But it's very clear that this kid on the ball, he's got a touch, he's got an eye for a pass, he's very quick across the ground as well, and he's really got no fear, which for a centre-back, for a left back, or a left centre-back, an inverted full-back, whatever we're going to call him, is a very good attribute to have. You don't want these guys, maybe we could even, if you think about what I just said about Vickers, you could maybe say that about him, plays with a bit of fear on the ball. Inamura doesn't, and I thought he was a real joy. Him and Yang seem to kind of show up to this game like, today we're going to own the left side of the pitch, and we're going to show the fans, we're going to show the manager, either one of us, both of us, are worthy of being in the squad and are worthy of a piece. Having a Japanese player wearing the number 25 is always going to be a bit of a soft spot for me personally, and I did think when he got that shirt number when he signed, maybe he's actually going to be a bit more important than we think, because I don't know, it's 7 and 10 and 9 and 8, all these numbers are important obviously to Celtic and to many clubs, but for us, 25, Lubo, Nakamura, Thomas Ronya, I had to, sorry, very big important players we've had over the years, and especially another Japanese player. So I think he comes out with this definitely with pass marks, but I think this is definitely one of those situations of, and again, Brendan highlighted this post-match, that you can get him on the ball against a team like Livingston that will give you that time and space. But he actually found himself in some really nice overlapping positions, and I said in my initial analysis of this guy, he did not look anything like a left-back, and for Celtic, he has very much looked like a left-back, so I'm quite happy to eat my words on that one. Him and Yang had some nice synergy down the side of the pitch, and along with Shin, you felt that we actually had a bit of an attacking kind of route to go here, a bit more harmony, a bit more synergy than what we've had in recent weeks, because I know Dyson came on later and he obviously gets his assist or whatever, but Dyson's not that winger, he's not that wide player, and Tierney, Tierney gets into these zones maybe as often as Inamura did in these matches, don't get me wrong, but it does feel that Tierney has kind of had the handbrake on this whole time, whereas Inamura doesn't even have a handbrake. It feels like, he was quite happy to show up in a number of different areas, trying to win the ball back, trying to play it forward, and the same kind of way as Yang. He just gets the ball when he's moving forward with it, so I thought he was really impressive in that regard. Now I must say, right up until about 5 or 10 minutes before he gets subbed off, I thought Bernardo was relatively anonymous in this match, and I don't know if it was just because Murray, Ralston, Scales and Inamura, they were kind of happy to bypass him, because this isn't Callum McGregor. We've mentioned it on the channel a number of times, but Callum McGregor has got this like centre of gravity quality in the squad where if he's near you, Scales is passing the ball to him, Murray's passing the ball, everyone gives the ball to McGregor. There's just no two ways about it. But in this match, Bernardo doesn't have that centre of gravity, he doesn't have that pull from the rest of the team, and I felt that was actually a big factor in us moving the ball a bit quicker into the final third and trying to make something happen. Now, I was really excited for McKeown in this game. I thought McKeown, this is a game where he would be writing his name all over it. He would be the one leading the charge, being the creative force or whatever, and it really wasn't his afternoon. Nothing really came off for McKeown, sadly. It was a bit of an opportunity missed. But one thing I'm finding quite perplexing in the aftermath of the game, when I'm listening to other content or I'm looking at Twitter, I'm in group chats and everything, is the shade that Arnie Engels is picking up for this, because especially in the first half, Arnie Engels was playing like his hair was on fire in the best way possible. He was absolutely everywhere. Now, I've just spoke about the left-hand side and how it seemed to work, and for the most part, it did feel like it was Shin, Inamura and Yang that maybe tried to run anything on here. Engels was everywhere in the first half, so much so that it kind of highlights a little bit how Bernardo, I think, in the first half especially, was a bit of a passenger, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but he just didn't really do anything. Engels was dropping in deep, getting the ball from centre backs, trying to spray it out wide, and then similar to Nygren for his goals, Engels was following up everywhere. Engels was popping up on the right side of the pitch, on the left, in the box, bursting into these channels, and in the first half he was very unlucky not to get the assist for the offside goal, and he did have a wee moment or two. I was speaking to, I think it was Kev Graham that said it to me, that he was diving in this game. I thought he did really badly when he got through into the box one-on-one and he just fell. I chalked it up to a Bambi on ice moment. I thought he just got a bit of a nosebleed, bit of a panic, lost his footing perhaps, and just kind of stumbled. But if he has went on the dive, it's pure crack and maybe shows you a bit more than what we would have previously thought, how desperate he is to break that duct for the season, to get his season up and running and to get the fans on side with him. But I thought Engels was the midfield driving force in the first half, no two ways about it. Was playing two roles in this game, at the back and in the front line, and like I mentioned before, was left and right, was all over the place. And whenever McKeown was on the ball, sadly, it just seemed to kind of bounce off him a little bit and nothing really materialised. Now, the obvious standout of the game here is Benjamin Nygren, who we've not spoke on yet, and I thought I would try and leave him to kind of last in the opening salvo, because he did so much that we've been missing. Brendan Rodgers did say like he's not really a wide player, and we did feel the burden of that at times, and I definitely agree with him. But see, whenever we were trying to come out from the back, the one thing I love about Nygren is he is just an amazing football player. You can play him right wing. I have even said before, in some of the games that we've seen from him, you can see why other teams have tried to play him at centre forward, because he's just got a really good eye for goal, and he's just really clinical. But in this game, like I say, I felt Bernardo was bypassed quite a lot. Nygren was popping all the way back into this area here very often whenever we were building out from the back, and it wouldn't be to do much, just get a wee touch on the ball, play it somewhere else, you're trying to pull somebody with you. But Nygren, he said it when he signed for us, he loves to run. And if you didn't know that before today, you definitely seen it. He was absolutely everywhere, and he absolutely personified what we need in an attacking playmaker. This performance of him dropping in deep, and the great thing, you can see it in all the highlights, but Nygren comes in deep, he'll get a wee touch on the ball, he'll try and you see it for one of the goals, he switches it all the way across to Yang, and he follows it up. He doesn't stop moving, he has perpetual movement, and he's got that, that eye for goal, that killer touch, and no two ways about it, he won us the game. And it was one of those performances that we often cry out for from Rio Hatate. I remember Jota's last season, he didn't really have a game like this, and it was something I was really holding against him, because that was something he used to be very good at, was just get the ball to Jota and something will happen. I'm not even too sure Nicholas Kuhn really had that about him. He definitely had a period where he was just making things happen. But I mean grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, drop deep, beat people, play 1-2s, go all over the pitch, and then still find yourself in the edge of the box to make something happen. And yeah, he maybe loses a bit of pace to someone like Kun, or maybe even Jota or Kyogo, those types of guys. But Nygren has got something that none of them has had, and that is that elite footballer determination of, I don't care what position I'm meant to play, I don't care what's happening, I'm going to get on the ball, I'll dictate play, I'll make something happen, I'll support my teammates when I can as well. And I think it was really well personified, the chance in the first half that gets sent down the right hand channel, because Livingston themselves were very narrow, like it felt like at times these wide areas here were just basically sectioned off and the game was kind of played within this channel. And Brendan did kind of highlight, like, Nygren didn't really give us any width or whatever, which is kind of true. And it was mainly Yang and Inamura we would find kind of roaming into those wide areas. But when that ball gets slung down the right hand side here and he's got to go shoulder to shoulder with his man, winning the ball back cleanly in that zone there, getting himself into the box to have a bit of a shot on goal. We've missed that bit of bite, we've missed that bit of hunger, getting in amongst it like a dog eating beetroot. That's what we want to see. And I can't speak highly enough of Nygren. If we go through all the highlights as well for the chances he's made for other players, as well as just showing up. He's a great guy for just showing up in and around in the right place at the right time, especially when the ball's coming down through the left and we see, these types of players all kind of move out, maybe get some position here. One thing from Shin and from Quinny that was brilliant to see, unlike, and again, this is a great kind of example of what we've been highlighting, I don't want to say complaining before, but Shin gets in between centre-backs, very unlucky not to get his goal, of course, as well. And this hiding at the back post stuff that Adamida does, that's okay for someone like Nygren to be doing. The guy that's coming in late at the back post, the guy that nobody else is seeing when everyone else is driving towards and with the striker. If Shin is moving towards the front post, he takes those guys with him, and then you've got Nygren just floating out into a bit of free space, and they might look like easy goals to walk onto or whatever, but 100% this is down to in-game intelligence and benefiting from real striker movement. And I could probably spend the whole video talking about Nygren, I genuinely think he was incredible in this game. No two ways about it. And there was significant periods in this game where, especially when it was down the left, but even, just from kind of centre play, where he was like a second striker. And normally we've had that kind of role filled from the Rio Hatate role. Engels has tried that a little bit. It's not really his bag, is it? And McKeown's quite good at it, but it didn't really work out for him in this game. But if we're able to really get Nygren that kind of free role where he can sense the danger, he can cause some of these extra problems with centre-backs. Let's see how it works with Ralston, AJ when he returns, Tierney or whatever, but that should give us some really good options to get down the left, or even have these, if we're down on the left hand side here, let's just move all these guys, and you guys know what happens, we get down the wide area, maybe we're blocked off and then we work the ball out. This is where something like one of those quick switches of play that we like to do could really work out very nicely, because when you've got your winger coming in and being the second striker, we try and do this with Dyson quite a lot on the other side of the pitch, so it's nice that Nygren is showing the ability to do this on the right. Maybe this will be something a future signing will do. Then it should just really open up a much cleaner path to that switch of play, change that point of attack that Brendan wants, and then you can get your Ralston down here, and then you've got a box loaded. And this is the one thing we'd never really have, is a loaded box, to try and aim against, so I really liked everything that Nygren did. I really have got no faults to play on the guy in this game. I thought he did exceptional. And he was the reason we won the game. There's no two ways about it. There's no getting away from it for me. And the last thing that I'll say on Nygren here as well is we see him as being very left-footed. He likes to come in on his inside here if he is playing out wide and float those balls into the back post. But if you see the chance that he made for Yang, he's hit this with his right foot very, very well and put it into a great zone for him to come on and slam that header into. Potentially saving the season from the goalkeeper. Yang was very unlucky, and there's maybe some suspicions Yang could have came off at half-time. But Nygren is quietly quite effective with both feet. And yeah, it's maybe something just to highlight at this point, that he can cross with his right as well as his left. But we get to half-time, it's 0-0, and I think we've looked apart. I think we've looked good without really creating much, and there was an expectation that Brendan's going to try and mix things up a little bit in the second half, and it was really coming out for the second half is where Nygren as the second striker thing it felt like it kind of happened a little bit more. Was at the beginning of the second half, as we really started to push Livingston back and we really started to try and just get the breakthrough. And eventually we get that breakthrough and then we make the subs. Now the triple sub, I didn't see this happening. I was quite surprised that we lost Bernardo from the game, because I thought Brendan would have probably gave him a few more minutes. Maybe he's not ready for more minutes, it would seem. Captain McGregor comes on to shore the ship up, to get us over the line. McKeown comes off for James Forrest, which again, I thought we would have got Forrest a bit more of a break, to be honest with you, ahead of the game we've got next week. And Daisen Maeda comes on for Shin Yamada, which sees Maeda go up through the middle. And again, like I was mentioning a minute ago, it really did feel that we had two up front. Nygren, especially with Daisen Maeda, this is a play that I could see us, if you think about the transfers we've got about to happen, maybe Balakwisha, maybe Calvin Stengs, maybe one or two others. But if we do have Daisen Maeda, Johnny Quinny, somebody like that who is very, Shin Yamada, very energetic and on the last line of defence here, building this kind of almost two up front partnership with Nygren, I think it's going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. And we essentially went 4-2-4 at this point here with McGregor and Engels still in the engine room. We still had the back four shaped up as we did, but with Forrest now on the right, Maeda through the middle, and Nygren, again, if you watch the game, you can just see how high he is. He's almost like a second striker now. We have seen this before with Hatate and whatever. It's not a total departure from what we've seen from Brendan before, but the way Nygren plays and the way he executes, it's a totally different style. Hatate is much more of like press support, like just make it difficult for them to play out. And Hatate does have that killer touch, that magic wand, but Nygren is just a bit more cultured. He's just got the confidence, he's got the touch, he's just hitting it, isn't he? And it's basically the same thing for the next substitution. We lose Yang later on for Johnny Quinny, and Daisen Maeda moves back out wide, which is eventually where the third goal comes from. And, I thought Quinny played the role just as well as Shin for running on the last man very well. Could have had 2 goals in this game, was kind of unlucky with the second one, the long ball, where he breaks through the defence, gets one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But this is the most energetic the front line has been this season for me, where with Forrest coming off the bench, quite fresh and quite nippy, that's the way you want him. Nygren really in his pomp, Quinny with a big point to prove, and then Daisen coming off the bench quite fresh and fit. In fact, it just felt like the front line had that tempo into it, had that intensity into it that we've been missing. Nygren did really well at doing this from the right wing, just dropping in deep, but now that he's had like a full front three to play with for the second goal, as these guys kind of come into the box and try and get at the end of stuff, it just makes it dead easy for Nygren to then just be on the outside of play, that perpetual movement we spoke about, just walk onto the ball and rifle it in. Johnny Quinny, I think, gets huge credit for his goal, because if you look it back, he is reading the play, he is playing like a striker, where he's on the last man here in between Wilson and Lawal. And as the ball goes out to Daisen Maeda, he then senses that and he gets right into it. Then the last 10 minutes, we lose Ralston for Colby Donovan. I think he did quite well, quite impressed with him. Again, this is the first channel that spoke about Colby Donovan and his potential to become a first team player for us. So really pleased to see him getting in on the action. But we start this here with McGregor and Inamura on the ball towards the edge of the box. And if we have a look at where Johnny Quinny is, he's right in the danger zone here, right with the rest of the defenders. He's got 4 Livingston men around him. He's looking right at the ball, but he's on that half step where he knows there's going to be one pass that's going to get played to either Forrest or to Maeda, and then he's got to be really at the races, really at the traps. And we'll just try and move this on really slowly so you can see what we're looking at here. Yep, so he checks along the line, he sees Daisen peeling off, he sees the offside line as well, so well done Quinny on that one. Next, if you go back and watch Adamida, he's just a lot more like, he'll face the ball, he looks at the ball, he's not really thinking this far ahead, which is just great for Quinny, great for us obviously as well. One of the things that goes in his favour here is how much of a problem Nygren has been, because as you can see, this guy has only got eyes for Nygren, Danny Wilson has only got eyes for the ball, this guy's looking over here somewhere at Arnie Engels, and then these guys here are starting to think about Daisen Maeda potentially. So Johnny Quinny has just got nice and lost in the picture here, which a good striker has a good knack of doing, Danny Wilson's maybe spotted him over his shoulder here a second ago. And then from here, there is only really one pass for Inamura. Now, if it was like Tierney or world class, maybe there's an argument to say that you could get something like maybe Forrest diving in it this way here, and maybe Inamura could be floating one of these ones in, possibly. But the pass that's going to happen here, as we all know, is going to be sling that out to Daisen, and as soon as that happens, it's going to be battle stations. We're going to see the rest of the Livy players retreat and come back, and the striker has to time his run perfectly here. And again, this is the only guy that's got eyes on Quinny. Everyone else has kind of just lost him into the mire here. Danny Wilson's checked his shoulder, Daisen goes by him, and as Wilson tries to cover Quinny, Quinny knows exactly where he needs to be. He knows he needs to get in between these two players here to meet the ball in this type of zone. That's the place we all need him to get to. Now, as that ball has been played into Daisen, Johnny Quinny knows a couple of things. Johnny Quinny knows that Maeda's going to take a touch or two, and he's going to try and fire the ball into this type of zone here to try and get someone on the end of it. It's quite a good cutback ball that Celtic do quite often, and Daisamaida's not a great crosser, but that's the sort of thing he can do, certainly. Danny Wilson is now caught on to where Johnny Quinny is and where the threat is. And there is maybe a little bit of luck that this player's only got eyes for the ball and he's not thinking more about getting back into a position here and blocking the space. He's more thinking about trying to block the cross before it gets into the goal mouth. But Quinny knows as soon as that ball comes in from Dyson, he needs to be getting in front of Danny Wilson. He can't be behind him. He needs to be getting in front of him here. And this run that he's got here makes Danny Wilson think he's going to go back post. You can see the way Danny Wilson's moving. And then at the last second, Quinny just manages to drop the shoulder. Boom. And then gets to the other side of him. Danny Wilson is now in no man's zone. Now, he is, fair enough, he is like goal side, so that's fine. But with the pace, the momentum of everyone rushing towards where the ball is going to come into, which is this area here, there's only going to be one winner on top of that. The trick with the cross is we have to beat this defender. Thankfully, he's kind of out of position a little bit because he's more focused on the cross. Maybe he's thinking a little bit about Arnie Engels potentially because he's put eyes on him earlier. But the cross is great. And Quinny gets in front of Danny Wilson, lovely. Not trying to hide at the back post. He's not trying to come round into this area here. And hopefully the cross beats 1, 2, 3, 4 Livy players so he can get a shot on it, Adamida style. The cross has done great, Maeda to beat the man, and then, I don't know if Pittman's really into the conversation here, but certainly to beat this man here, I'm saying this man here, I can just highlight people, but to beat this guy here is very good from the cross, put into a very good area. Keeper has went to the front post, opened up the entire goal for him, and, it's a nice finisher's goal. Good striker's goal, and there was some moments in the first half where Yamada had done the same sort of thing. Now, normally, this is the position where we get Dane Murray coming out from the back, and normally, if this is Carter Vickers, Carter Vickers maybe tries this pass into Ida or Kyogo once in a while, but Carter Vickers is much more, I'm going to play it to you, or I'm going to give it to you, and you can do all that stuff. He's much more of a sideways guy, Vickers. He's not really a vertical guy. But Dane Murray has got that space, he's got that time. Livingston are backing off him. And look at this, just look at this gap to play the ball into. We get so many chances in matches where those passes are just not taken. It was probably one of Kyogo's biggest bugbears when he was at the club. But Murray, front foot guy, and Yamada again is really happy to get in between centre backs. And I know Rogers was complaining about Nygren being quite narrow at times or whatever, but this is normally where we would see someone like Adamida, or maybe where McKeown is. We would normally see him in one of those positions, with then maybe like Nygren out here in the wide area with your overlapping fullback. But Yamada is just right in between the two centre backs. There's too much of a gap between them. That is an absolute chasm. And if you're the manager and you see that your defence is left that much of a gap for the striker to live in, no one's tight to him, no one's shoulder to shoulder with him. It's an absolute free pass to put him one-on-one with the goalkeeper. His first touch is lovely, and the first touch takes him and sets him on. Now, the thing with Yamada here is it feels like rush of blood to the head stuff, doesn't it? He takes that first touch, the goalkeeper's coming off his line, and at this point we're looking for a one-touch or a two-touch finish. He's only going to have one touch because of the speed of the ball. He's away from all of his markers, he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And again, these are chances that Adamida just doesn't pick up, is essentially my point. He's aiming for the right place, but he just makes such a poor connection on it. If you think about the Jota goal where he chips McGregor, like from this angle down here, he's got big strides and he's walking onto the ball so that connection is perfect. And it feels like Yamada, he's still just a wee bit green. Behind the a wee bit green behind the gills, a wee bit wet behind the ears, as it were, and he's just, look at how many steps he's taken here, and then it's just about timing those steps so you can get the shot away well, and he just gets his foot too wrapped around it rather than getting his laces on it or making a proper purchase. So wee bit of panicking at the dance floor. Unlucky from him, he'll definitely be gutted, but he had another couple of chances like that, and sincerely, we've not had striker movement like that since Kyogo left last January. So don't get me wrong, Dyson has a bit of that in him as well. But yeah, in terms of Yamada and Quinny, really happy with their movement. If we look at the match ratings from this game as well, there is a few winners. We've got Dane Murray coming out of this with a 100 out of 100 point score. Now, if there was no cap, he would have actually scored 118 points out of 100. He gets a big points boost because of having his last man tackle that we mentioned before. But defensively, the big man has made 5 clearances, won 3 tackles. On top of that, he's won his duels 7 times, only lost 4 of them, which is a net of 3, so that's good. 2 interceptions. He's maybe lost possession a few times with some of those passes, but I think that's all well and good considering he made 83 passes, 22 long passes as well, which is much, much more effective than what we get out of Carter Vickers. 11 of his balls made it into the final third. 4 balls were big switches of play. He did miss 10 passes, which contributed to 11 of the possession loss that he made here. So maybe just a wee bit of work to do on that. One penalty area entry, that was the sequence we just seen with Yamada. And a resounding performance. Statistically, the man of the match, you would say. But in actual reality, the man of the match is Benji Nygren with a 95 out of 100 point score. 2 goals for the big man himself. We've spoken a lot about his movement and his off-the-ball stuff. He lost possession 20 times in this game, guys. So before you start throwing Hitates and Engels and all the rest of it under the bus for lost possession so much, attacking players do that. As long as it comes off more often than not, that's the dance you do. That's the trade-off you make here. 54 passes, incredible for a player in his position, but it was because of how deep he was coming. 3 attempted assists, a big chance created, 31 passes in the final third, 8 balls into the box, 2 shots on goal, 2 goals, and he's won a few dribbles as well. My man of the match, I don't think there's much of an argument around that. Let's talk about Inamura. He came out with a 65 out of 100 points rating. Now, defensively in this game, he made 4 clearances, he won a tackle, he's obviously got his clean sheet points there as well. He lost 7 duels, only won 5, which kind of adds into what I said on my initial analysis, that the guy doesn't look like a great defender yet. And with Brendan Rodgers, what he said as well. So all these stats here for possession, losing duels, losing possession, it's the wrong way round. But on the ball, 85 passes, 25 of them into the final third, only 7 missed passes, 2 attempted assists. So that's 2 balls he's played into the box and someone's got a shot away from it. Not as many of these long balls as we've seen out of Murray, but that's fine, that's all well and good. And 3 balls into the box. A solid debut for Hayato Inamura, and congratulations to him. Anthony Ralston with a solid 83 was just not to be, quietly confident and brilliant in this game. A few clearances and a tackle. He's won 7 duels, only lost 1. So again, Ralston, the boss at the back there, the bricky. 69 passes, 29 of them in the final third. He got a shot on goal himself. He got 5 balls into the box. Very solid performance. Captain Scales leading the line, wearing the armband. 102nd appearance for the Hoops. 6 effective clearances, 1 block. Didn't actually need to do any tackles or anything like that. Only 1 interception. Wasn't involved in too many duels either. But pass count, 98 passes. And the volume in and behind that is very Scales-esque. We're used to seeing this from him. And a little bit less final third activity, because I think Inamura and Murray maybe shouldered that a little bit more than what Vickers normally does or whatever. And we could talk about McKeown was a bit rubbish. I think he had a big chance missed in this game as well. Lost a lot of possession. 16 possession lost. But again, there's no trade-off. There's not really any big chances created, any attempted assists or anything like that. No shots on goal. McKeown was just a bit meh. But Arnie Engels, for me, I can't believe the shade he was getting from some people post-match. He gave away 4 fouls, which is not really good, right? But he was fouled twice, so that's okay. We can deal with that. He's won 2 tackles. He's blocked a cross. He's made 2 interceptions. He's won 5 duels, but he did lose 8. 20 possession lost is not good. It would have been acceptable if he came off this game with something, but sadly the offside flag stopped him getting an assist in this match. 48 passes, 20 of them in the final third, an attempted assist, and 11 balls into the box. I thought Engels was really good. The heat map on him is very favourable as well. And I thought this was a very good performance for him. Yang, not too far behind. Does get a big chance missed, which is quite harsh on him. I think the goalkeeper did very well for it. He won a dribble, got a few shots away, made some nice passing stats as well, made some chances and assists for some others. Made an interception, won some duels. Fine performance for Yang. Good second stringer, And then from the bench, we required, some of the heavy hitters to come on. Johnny Kenny gets his goal, Daiza Maeda with the assist, and Colby Donovan with his debut. Only played on 10-12 minutes. 2 clearances, made a block. Lost possession twice, which is fine, but he won the only duel he was involved in. He also made an interception, and his passing was pretty sweet for how little volume there is here. And I think the future is bright for Colby Donovan. If this injury to Ralston is to persist, I would like to see the manager really give Colby the opportunity to get minutes and to flourish. And now it is all eyes on Kaira Almaty in the second leg. And I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better going into that game now. Do we start with Daiza Maeda through the middle and play Yang and Forrest on the wings? Or do we start with Kenny or Yamada through the middle? Let me know in the comment section out of those 3 potentials, what would you go for? What do you think the manager will go for? Whatever you want to answer me with, it's up to you guys as well. The rest of the team kind of picks itself, doesn't it? On screen there now, some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. If you have enjoyed the video, please do hit like and subscribe for more content like this, guys. Jump into the comment section, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Hail, hail, and moan the hoops.